Hi, I'm Tammy Herman from So Cozy Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to make this quilt. It's called Kaleidoscope Stars. This quilt has these great dynamic large star blocks that then when assembled come together to make this really cool center focal point, a secondary pattern. This quilt would look great in lots of different fabrics, and the really fun part is it's really easy because it's just a whole lot of half square triangles. So let's dig in. This is the fabric collection I've decided to try for this quilt. It's a series of pinks and fuchsias and some orangey reds and yellows, and has a lot of contrast, so it should make the design of this quilt stand out great. Now I have all the cutting done, and I will say I went ahead and left my labels on my fabric because looking at this pattern, it has lots of half square triangles. Sometimes it's a half square triangle that's B and D combined. Sometimes it's B and A combined. Sometimes it's D and E combined. And so it's really important to keep track of your fabric. But the pattern lays it out nicely and it's easy to understand. I just, being extra careful and keeping my labels. I will say the cutting is fairly easy because it's just 10-inch. Everything is cut into either 10-inch squares or 4.5-inch strips that either stay in strips like this or become 4.5-inch squares. Super easy cutting. It went really fast. So let's get into putting together all these half square triangles. Now, one of the things I really strive for in my patterns is efficiency in piecing. So the first piecing I'm going to do is half square triangles between fabric A and fabric B. So I'm going to go ahead and set these aside. And the efficiency part comes in the fact that we are going to do 8 at a time half square triangles. So this cutting into 10-inch squares is designed to give us the opportunity to make 8 at a time half square triangles. So if you're not familiar with the 8 at a time method, and this fabric will not come apart, there we go. If you're not familiar with the 8 at a time, no worries. The pattern goes through and explains it completely, but I'm going to show you here how we go about doing that. So 8 at a time, half square triangles, you take the square, in this case a 10-inch square, and you're going to mark, this is a water-soluble marker, I'm going to mark on the back. I hope this is the back. It's always tough with batiks. I'm going to mark on the back an X across the diagonal. And I'm going to mark it on the other diagonal as well. Point to point. Then I'm going to take this 10-inch square and I'm going to layer it right sides together with its match in the fabric, the other fabric. So right sides together. And then I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch on both sides of these lines that I drew. So let me go do that, and I'll be right back to you to show you how we get to 8. Okay, now normally I would not use white thread. I would use thread that would match my fabric a little bit better, but I wanted to make sure that you could see, or hope that you could see in the camera, the thread. So I've got white thread on this bright pink fabric. Okay, so you can see I stitched 1/4 inch on both sides of both lines. Okay, so now I'm going to take the ruler, I'm going to lay this on my mat as square as I can, and I'm going to cut on both of those drawn lines. That way. I'm going to be really careful not to move the fabric. I'm going to cut here. Okay, again, trying not to move the fabric. Now, if you have a rotating mat, this is a perfect place to have a rotating mat, but I do not, so I'm going to go for it. So now we're going to cut again down through the middle this way and down through the middle this way. So these are 10-inch blocks. So I am looking for the 5 mark, which is right here, 5 inches, dead center. And then I'm going to turn it around and do it again. This is where I say a rotating mat would be much better than what I'm doing here. And there you go. Okay, So now with those cuts, start to pull these apart. You can see we have 8 pieces. I'm going to open this up and I will finger press it just to show you how nice that looks. Okay, so I had to take a break there to go find my ruler. I started to say what I like to do is use these rulers that are designed to accurately measure half square triangles. So once I have these, I will take this one. I have 2 of these. This one finishes at on inches, even inches, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. This one finishes on the half. These finished size, these rulers are great because they say the unfinished size and the finished size. So in this case, these need to finish at 4 inches. They're unfinished at 4.5. So I take the dotted line on the ruler and put it on my stitch line here. And then if I just trim it, then I can press it, and this will finish at 4.5 inches unfinished, which is what I need for my pattern. Now I'm going to take these and open them up, and I'm going to finger press to the dark side and leave them like that. Gently. I do not want to stretch the fabric. I don't want to get them out of shape at all. I'm going to open it and press that seam down just with my finger, just run my finger along there. And then that's going to give me the opportunity. Now I've got that seam, I've got it finger pressed. And I'm going to take my little iron and I'm going to set that. I'm not going to iron back and forth. I'm just going to press so that it stays nice and square. I don't want anything to get my block misshaped. Then I can trim off my dog ears. And there we go. Beautiful block. Love the colors in this first block. Love it. Now I showed you that I like to use my half square triangle ruler for trimming these up before I press them. If you don't have one of these and you have another method for trimming, no problem. I know some people like to press them and then take, like in this case, this is a 4.5 inch square and just trim all the way around. I know others like to use rulers like this where you can put the 45-degree angle on the line and then trim. So whatever is your method, the pattern tells you that to trim these to 4.5 inches. So whatever is your best trimming method to get your half square triangles to 4.5 inches, you do what works for you. Okay, so I finished all of my AB half square triangles and I put a little tag on them so that I don't forget which fabrics these are, so I can set these aside. I'm going to move on to my next set. Now I already have my A fabrics out because we did the ABs. My next instruction says to take 3 A's. We're going to make half square triangles with A and E. So here are 3 A's. I'll set those aside. Here is my E stack. I'm going to pull 3 of the 10-inch squares out of E. 1, 2, 3. Put my tag back on. As you can see, I've got lots of pieces we're going to use in the future. Set those aside. So now this means that we must need 24 half square triangles of these fabrics. So I'm going to lay these out, do the same thing I did before. Take my ruler, my pen. I'm making a mess. Here we go. And mark corner to corner. If I could get it to lay still. Here we go. Mark corner to corner. Flip it around. Mark corner to corner with my water-soluble marker. Then I'm going to take my E fabric, right sides together with a 10-inch A. Go back to the machine. I'm going to do that with all 3 of these and stitch 1/4 inch on each side of these, just like we did before. Now I have 2 sets done, the AB set and the AE fabric set. I'm just going to keep working my way through. There's several more sets of half square triangles. The pattern just walks through each one step by step. I'm just going to walk it through. So, hey, I'm going to take a pause from our quilt for a minute and do some shout outs. I love to do shout outs to other businesses and support other small business. So there's a couple shout outs that I want to do today. So you may notice I'm working with this beautiful fabric. This one and this one both have tulips. These are batiks with tulips on them. You cannot buy these fabrics just anywhere. These fabrics came from a little shop in Pella, Iowa called the Quilted Windmill. And so why Pella? Because Pella has a beautiful tulip festival every year. The town is full of tulips. I've never seen a Dutch, Holland tulip festival, but I cannot believe it outdoes what Pella, Iowa does. And it's a lovely little Dutch community, and they have a Dutch windmill on the town square. It's a fantastic community. If you've never been there, you should check it out. Hence, the quilt shop's name is the Quilted Windmill. And they made these tulip fabrics specifically for their shop. So they are batiks. You can see the tulips. Maybe I can get it straight up. They're beautiful. So if you happen to be looking for something really unique fabric-wise and you love tulips, check out the Quilted Windmill. I will put their link in my description. And they do sell these fabrics online. So check them out. They're a lovely shop. My second shout out, if you spend any time around me, you know that I love big earrings. And so I want to show you my earrings today because I bought these at the farmer's market in Gainesville, Florida from a lovely lady named Amber Rust. Her business is called Fluidity by Amber. And actually, earrings is not all she does. She's actually a resin artist. So if you've seen the beautiful wood where they pour resin and it looks like a river, she does that and takes it to the 10th degree because she also paints. And so if you love turtles or marine life, her woodwork and resin work is out of this world. But then she adds these fun earrings. So I will put the link to Fluidity by Amber in my description as well. I do want you to know I'm not associated with any of these companies. I just like to cheer on other businesses. So I want to be sure I'm sharing with you what I know and what I find. So check those two out. Okay, so we had all those half square triangles that we cut out of what were started as 10-inch squares, and then we cut with the 8 at a time method. In addition to the 10-inch squares, though, you may remember in the beginning we had cut some 4.5-inch strips, so we've been having those sit on the sideline. So now what I want you to see is as we start through the pattern, it just goes step by step. It's very detailed. In this case, the first step is pull one 4.5 by 8.5-inch strip, one 4.5-inch square, and another 4.5-inch square of a different fabric, and assemble it like this. So right there is that, and that will be our first unit. Then the second step says pull now our half square triangles, a DF half square triangle, a DE, a DC, and a CF. This is why labeling those stacks was so important, because now we can just go to our stack and pull one DF, one DE, one DC, and one CF, and assemble it like that. So when we do that, what we have is these. One DE, one DF, one DC, and one CF, and we're going to put them together like that, and you can see the arrows start to form. And we're just going to walk through the pattern step by step. It shows you each image, exactly how to assemble it, until you come down here and you have this large 4 patch. And we're going to keep doing that step by step. It's really easy, and as long as you've got your stacks labeled, you keep doing that, and eventually where you end is with a big, I'm going to turn it around, this is actually how it goes, one big block. So you can see how the one big block comes together. And we're just going to keep repeating these over and over until we get them all this size and trimmed up nice and even. So now if we do all that, where does that get us? It gets us right here. So I'm going to put this last block up. You can see where it goes on the design wall. So now you don't need to have a design wall to lay this out. I just did that because I wanted you to see where we were heading. All you really need to do is trust the pattern and just go step by step and create your units. But I wanted you to see that when you do that, then you can put these units up. And at this point, what we have are 4 identical, I'm gonna try to get to where you can see it, 4 identical blocks. You can see they're laid out, they're absolutely identical. There's 4 of these. And you may look at the pattern and say, well, that doesn't match the pattern. There's no middle medallion yet. That's because we haven't rotated the blocks yet. So what I want you to see is it just makes 4 very large identical blocks. So I'm gonna go put these all together. These are just in units on my design wall at this point. They're all very small pieces. Here's all the half square triangles that we made. That one's a little tough to see because it's 2 reds. They are actually half square triangles. There we go. And so I'm gonna go sew all these together and have 4 identical blocks. And then I'll show you how, just by simply rotating these blocks, we create that center medallion. Now you can see what we have on the design wall now, if I will get my head out of the way, is 4 very large identical blocks. I have them rotated in the exact same way so you can see that all 4 blocks are identical. Now what I'm going to do is rotate 3 of them to create our middle medallion. So watch this. And there is our design. So that's for the center. All we need to do now is add borders. When we add our first border, we're going to get yet a 3rd design emerging. So give me a second here and we'll get the borders going. As promised, here is the finished quilt top with the borders on. One of the things I really like to do is create borders that aren't just extra fabric stuck on the edges, but where the border actually contributes to the overall design element of the quilt. In this case, there are 2 borders. I chose to make them both the same fabric, so it looks, it creates continuity in color, but you can choose, and I've done this quilt where the borders are different colors, but the inner border is the one that helps create an extra design element. As you can see here, it contributes to this polygon shape that's in the background, so yet another design element. Now I really wanted to use my tulip fabric, so I set out with the red, pink, and black kind of combo, but this quilt really does look great in a whole variety of colors. So let's take a look at a few. This one is shades of sea greens and some oceany colors, and it's a much softer, crisp feel. I really like it in this color combination. Here's another one. It's really hard for me to look at anything with large stars and not think of red, white, and blue. And so I always have to give it a shot in a patriotic mix. Really good for a quilt of valor or for decorating at the 4th of July. Love this combo. I know a lot of you like sage green, so here's a look with sage green and navy. I always love sage and navy together. This makes a really nice combination. And as I mentioned, there really are 2 borders. So while in many of my examples, I combine those 2 borders together for a pop of color on the outer edge, but you don't need to. You can separate the colors. So like in this one, the inner is that cranberry color, and then the outer border stands alone. Lots of things you can do with this quilt. So I told you that when I started this, I wanted it to be a layer cake, and this quilt just took me on its own journey into a yardage type pattern. And that's the story of how this quilt came to be. Every quilt has a story. Tell me, you have to know every time you walk up to someone with a quilt, they don't just say, oh yeah, I made this quilt. They want to tell you who they made it for, or where they found the fabrics, or how that quilt brings out an emotion. Every quilt has a story. And so one of the things I'd like to hear from you are, what are your stories? Tell me what you're working on. Tell me where you're having troubles, and let me see if I can lean in and help. Tell me about your favorite quilt, or the one you're making for a neighbor, or you know what someone did with it when you surprised them with a quilt. So I would love to hear the stories. You can use the comments, pop in a couple comments. I also, on my website, there is a contact me area, so feel free to contact me. Certainly, I want to make sure you know if you have purchased this pattern on my website and you're having any issues at all, please contact me and let me know. I'm happy to reach out. I'll also say, if you're thinking about a color, if you've purchased this pattern and you are thinking about a color combination but you're wondering how to look, give me a heads up on what colors you're working on, and I can pop it into my software and see if I can give you a preview before you cut. That's always so nice to be able to see what it looks like before you cut. Honestly, had I not had that software, and had I not been playing around with color, I would have probably written this for layer cake, and then I would have been really disappointed in the outcome. So happy to help if I can in that way. If you've enjoyed this video and you're looking forward to more, please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. There are lots more videos coming out. We're going to explore all kinds of quilt patterns. As I said, I tend to write for pre-cuts, so there will be lots of jelly roll and lots of layer cake things coming out. And support each other, be kind to each other. I look forward to getting to know you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.